Okay, so this is our last video of the year, and it is for 4th grade for April 25th. The first one that we're going to talk about is number 4, and this one is a question that is asking them how much of the trip did Paul's parents complete, and it's giving them where one parent drove 5/12, 3/12 is the other parent, and it wants them to get a complete, how much did they complete, which is looking for a total, is what we talked about. And they would need to add the two fractions together, which both of the questions, that this one and the one that's going to be on the test, they will both need to be reduced. This one I show here that 8/12 can be reduced by dividing by that super one of 4/4. So 8 can be divided by 4, which gives you 2. 12 can be divided by 4, which gives you 3. So the answer statement is Paul's parents completed 8/12 or 2/3 of the trip. So you can practice with a different set of fractions, but mainly looking at working on the reducing of those fractions. We have another one here where we're practicing dividing. I like to tell them to put a tick mark above each one of those digits in the dividend, which is that number inside that we're dividing, so that they make sure that they're putting those numbers in the quotient above each one of those digits, because they sometimes get confused and they will put that number in the wrong place, and then they end up with an extra digit in that quotient, which then kind of throws them off. So just practicing that. Number 7 right here was a tricky one. Their main information that they need to know is that the conversions. So putting down that they had like 12 inches equals 1 foot, then 3 feet equals 1 yard, and then that 36 inches equals 3 feet, or even 36 inches equals 1 yard. Because what we're doing is we're looking for 108 inches equals how many yards. So I gave them two different ways to complete this. One was that they could actually do the converting of inches into yards. But what that did was that it asked them to divide 108 divided by 36, and that's actually not content that they are supposed to do in 4th grade, dividing a 3-digit by a 2-digit number, which was kind of tricky. Or they could switch this into 108 into feet and show that 108 inches does equal 9 feet. By using those conversions that we just talked about, with that 3 feet equals 38 inches, they could turn that into 9 feet, shown right there, and then it's a whole lot easier to divide 9 divided by 3, which will show us that 3 yards equals that 9 feet or 108 inches, and that's one that I would really look at. On this next one, we've got a question. It's a 2-part question. And the first part was, how tall was Lorenzo's plant when it is 6/10 of an inch and it grows that much in 7 days? So we took 6/10 times 7 days. So we had to put it in the whole number over 1 to make it where we could multiply two fractions, which we get 42/10. And we had to turn that into a mixed number. Then it asked what two whole numbers is the mixed number 4 2/10 in between. So I showed that that would be between 4 and 5. So talking about what whole numbers is the mixed number in between. It's been a while since we had done standard form into expanded form, and expanded form is where you're taking the place value of each digit and putting it into its place value. So this one would be 400,000 plus 70,000 plus 6,000 plus 200 plus 30 plus 8, which is the expanded form. We have a rounding question here. Still sometimes miss those, but just knowing that you underline the place value that you are rounding and the digit behind it does the rounding. Practicing that. I see a little extra points here. When you're naming ordered pairs, the X is first, which is left to right. Then you have the Y, which is up or down. So this is the part that I'm looking for those extra points. X is first, left or right. Then Y is up or down and comes second. So they'll get some extra points for that. On this one, we were comparing these fractions. I did that butterfly where you could multiply 5 times 3 and show 15, 6 times 3 and show 18, and that shows that that fraction is greater than. 3/5 is greater than 3/6. This one, which shape showed a perpendicular line? I asked them to practice knowing that perpendicular is when lines intersect to form right angles, and I'm sure you've seen that a few times before. Can they draw that? Could they draw a shape that had perpendicular lines? And the matrix. This is one where we've been practicing these. They're told that this is a right angle, meaning 90 degrees. That would be, the first step would be to add these two together. So I had them write down, first step is to add these two angles. And then the second step would be to subtract this from the total angles, or the total of the angles, which would be 90 minus 68. And that would give you the missing angle right here. The next one is this one right here, and I've kind of given you a big one. I told them that the main information is 1,000 milliliters equals 1 liter. They had to find how many liters they had. 1.5 plus 3 gives them 4.5. I did switch it to 4.5 into a decimal, and I did show them what it was like to multiply with a decimal, meaning that you would multiply as if there were no decimal, 45 times 1,000. And that would give you 45000, and then count how many decimal digits you had. So that would move one place, which moves that decimal one place over. So that gives you an answer of 4,500. Subtracting, borrowing, regrouping. The area is the amount of space or squares inside of a shape. Area unit squared equals length times width. Making sure that we remember to show our units. And the last one. What they had was the difference between the longest and the second longest fish lengths. So that was 5.5 minus 3.5, which gave us a 2-inch difference. Looking at this one, what if we had the 3 longest fish and we had to find the total length? So the 3 longest fish would be 5 1/4, 5 1/2, and if we had to find a total, we would add 5 1/4 plus 5 1/4 plus 5 1/2. Even though these have longer columns, this measurement is not the longest. This just has more fish that have been collected at that length. These are the 3 longest fish, so you would add those 3 together. That is the end. I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Talk to you later.